unapologetically black on this podcast today.
Pretty much.
Crown, and daggum hot Cheetos. You know how we get down.
And Bruce Lee.
Now, you know black folks love they old movies.
them Chinese fighting movies.
Yeah.
Any of y'all,
they can't really see his shirt, so they probably think you talking about me.
Use your imaginations.
Hold on. Shout out to my boy. I gotta do it every time. Shout out to my boy Risto.
All the smoke.
Boy, stupid.
So I've been hearing a lot about people thinking that this is still just going to be something that's the same as it always is, and it's going to slow down after 2 weeks. You know, a couple weeks it's just going to go back to normal.
I mean, has it?
Kinda.
We getting there.
Kinda. I mean,
but this time, is there something getting done? Something changed?
See, I think that's one thing that the people have to recognize. That's what has to happen. There's a reason for these protests. There's a reason we outside walking. Because now, did you what was it that recently just got passed? As far as there's more into how a police officer
is the Breonna Taylor rule?
Yeah, it's the Breonna Taylor rule, but then Kansas or Wichita itself just passed something
with the knee.
With the knee, like that.
You can't put your knee into a suspect
which
who's
is crazy.
handcuffed.
Which is crazy. They have to say that,
right?
But you know what I'm saying. At the end of the day, protesting is making an impact.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
A lot of people saying it's not doing the dang thing. We've
it's
been marching since we've been free.
I mean,
it ain't changed a dang thing.
It ain't been no Watts riots, but been some impactful riots that's been going on.
But was the whole world marching back then? I'm curious.
Absolutely not. They ain't had the same technology, same coverage of what's going on.
Right.
I mean, now in their own history, they probably protested and in their own things about their own opinions and stuff, but not for them to be overseas seeing what's going on here and then marching for us saying like, hey, this ain't right.
But this one
was a game changer.
This one impacted the world.
Yeah,
like this was like
changer.
this like really disrupted the system to where now they're trying to defund the police. You know what I'm saying? Like
I still ain't figured out how that works.
Well, let's pause on that real quick, because when we talk about protests,
right?
Let's go back to MLK.
Okay.
Because
that's what time frame we talking?
60s. So the point of the protest was not only a demonstration, because as of recent, our protests marches have only been demonstration. They haven't been true protests. There's a difference between a protest and a demonstration. See, when they marched back in the 60s, the whole point was to say the world is watching. We're gonna show you how brutal these people are. We're gonna put on our Sunday best and we're gonna walk from point A to point B, and let you all witness how they beat us, sick the dogs on us, shoot us with water hoses, and we're just being human walking down the street. That's part one. Part two was they knew they was going to jail,
right?
So it backlogged the system. Okay, so now you're putting a burden on the system. So that in itself is a protest, because you did a demonstration and you also got something accomplished with backlogging the system. Versus as modern day time, we just been marching and then going home. Because modern day, we just been blowing steam. So you had to understand why they did what they did back then, right?
That's good. That's good to know that. That's good to. I'm glad that you brought that up, because people need to hear that. They need to hear exactly what was the plan then, because I don't think people are aware or walking into a situation with a plan now. The only plus side that I've seen so far from this situation is that we now, talking based off of where you were going, we're talking the 60s. So we're talking, that's maybe our parents or grandparents era.
Right.
That's not that long ago. That's literally a couple generations ago.
Right.
See, now the difference is we have generations walking now. Before, it was just, like you said, you know what I'm saying, the elders at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like with the 20s and 30-year-olds, the ones that are willing to go to jail.
Right.
Facts.
Now, our grandmothers, I've seen elderly women, because when at the protest on 21st Street, I saw a lot of older women and a lot of people's older aunts, uncles. You know what I'm saying? And the funny thing is, and I kind of thought about it, because as a black man now, we have to think about each other. Yeah. When I see somebody that's pulled over that is my color, I'm going to purposely pull over and ask, "Hey, is that you all right? You good?" Right. Like, I feel like it's my duty now. Right. So now I saw a lot of people trying down the 21st Street protests, which bothered me. It bothered me.
21st in Arkansas or Arkansas?
The 21st in Hillside, right at the police station. One of the first protests in Wichita that happened. Now, people are like, "Oh, well, that's the police station. That's the ops right there. Why you gonna go talk to the enemy? Blah 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 blah." In order for change to happen, you have to have that one-on-one conversation, right?
Go to the source.
Yep.
But this is the thing: we weren't just pulling up to talk to what's his name,
Gordon Ramsay.
Ramsay. We're not just pulling up to Ramsay to have a one-on-one. The community's pulling up. The hood's pulling up.
Yeah.
But hood.
But see, what people don't realize is our hoods aren't the same type of hoods that they have in other cities. No. We got older folks in these hoods.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We have our grandmothers in these hoods. Right. So who's showing up to this protest? Our aunts, our uncles, our grandmothers. My question for our generation is, who's out there protecting them?
That's the key, yeah.
Now, just to say, and I'm just being hypothetical, because you say that there are dirty cops out there, right? Let's say that they decided they wanted to get dirty. Ramsey's out here, we in front of their house, and they want to maybe, start a little something just to make a statement.
Right.
Who's protecting? If y'all are down in a situation, a protest that we're walking around, you know that there's dirty cops in the system. That's why I applaud people such as LT, such as Scott Victor, that was there also. Yeah. That's why I applaud AJ Bohannon, that's there, because they're there also with their generation, teaching them. We're teaching them, but we're also protecting. See, that's the thing. We can't just think about what's going on with us. We got elders in this situation now. Mm-hmm. It's not just a generational thing. They've seen the same situation that we're going through right now. I'm sorry.
No, you good. No, you good.
That was absolutely necessary.
It was necessary, but at the end of the day, the other thing we got to remember is, for everybody our age, we got to make sure that our children stay safe too. So we got to stand up for it now.
Yes.
So that way they don't go through the same thing that our previous generations.
We got to talk about it.
And they have to be aware of it, and they have to know the situation. And it's kind of one of those things where, I got a black son, and he is 12, and he's coming up of age, and he's asking questions. But a lot of times he always gets mad at me. He's like, it's almost like, why you always on my head when I show out or when I do something I see other kids do it? Because it's not that I don't care about the other kids, but you're my responsibility.
Because I care about your life.
And at the end of the day, you already was born with 3 strikes unfairly. So I'm trying to make sure you don't get that 4th strike. Mm-hmm. That's how it's always going to be. That's how, until you out on your own, fending for yourself, and I see you can handle your own, I'm your protector. Mm-hmm. And even when you out there defending and doing whatever you got to be doing, I still got to be your protector till I die. Because I need you to bury me before I bury you.
That's a fact. The internet is a blessing and a curse.
For sure.
Double-edged sword.
It's a blessing and a curse because we're using it to show. So, like, if the George Floyd situation, if that wasn't taped, then I don't know how big it possibly would have been. Yeah. Because, for instance, Breonna, the sister that got killed, the reason why I don't think she's getting the attention that she deserves is because it wasn't taped. It wasn't filmed. We didn't see her get shot multiple times. Right. Now, if we would have visually saw it, I think it would have been an even bigger uproar. Mm-hmm. But we saw George Floyd take his last breath. Mm-hmm. We saw a black man cry for his mother who is no longer on this earth. That is a whole different feeling. As a black man, you know that feeling. Mm-hmm. You know that's the last straw. The last straw. So it touches you. But we wouldn't have saw it if it wasn't for the internet.
Yeah.
Facts.
We wouldn't have seen it. But then, on like you said, a double-edged sword, because in another way, I feel like CNN, Fox, and all these other networks, they're trying to piss me off.
Yeah.
They trying to make me mad. There's a reason why. There is no reason why a man's last breath should be able to be shown on television, but yet that has to be shown in order for the message to be put across.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like the internet, you would not believe like the pain it can bring, but then also the change it can bring.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. And I'm just glad that we're able to utilize our platforms to bring some type of change. It may not be the change that's absolutely needed, but us speaking together as brothers is going to do something that's going to impact somebody. But
it's scary, Mojo.
It is.
It's scary because we got a whole generation that, to be honest with you, they're angry.
Yeah.
They're angry.
I seen somewhere somebody said this generation, these are the kids that seen Trayvon get killed and nothing happened to his killer.
Right. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Still walking around free.
Like it's nothing.
So that's why they out there right now riding as hard as they riding.
Right.
I mean,
but we need them.
Oh, absolutely.
We need them.
Oh,
we need the younger generation. We need the older generation. It's gonna take every single one of us. And it's just nowhere near. Like, we haven't even begun.
Yeah, we scratching the surface. It's interesting because what they say about a characteristic of millennials, we search for jobs that have purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We're not focused on so much as a whole. We're not focused solely on making a salary, or we want to feel fulfilled.
Right.
And it's not necessarily by the check, but instead by the work that we do.
Yep.
And so it's almost like this generation coming behind us is riding that same coat wave. And now, if that's what it is, then we have to be the ones to help direct them and say,
that's key.
We understand how you feel.
Yeah.
We've been there. And so this is how you affect positive change.
That's key.
It's a beautiful thing.
They're looking at us, the millennials, to actually be that direction, that example. And I'm be honest, I feel like we're not doing a good job. I mean, overall, all around, when it comes to school, our education, finances. Like, us millennials are on TV, the ones that do have money. You know, we're on Love and Hip Hop, and we're on Basketball Wives, and we're on, you know what I'm saying, we're on all these different shows, and we're showing out. You know what I'm saying? We got money, but we still ratchet. We still make decisions that are just like we're loose cannons.
But at the same time, that's a Generation X that's on those shows too, above us, that's supposed to be more mature than us.
True.
I mean,
true.
You got that from every generation.
But we got the nerve to complain that, like, dang, these kids these days, man, they are terrible. But they said the same thing about us.
But nah, it's just different because we see it.
Yeah.
That's the difference, is that we see it, is right in front of our eyes, and now we're the older generation, and we're like, boy, y'all wildin'.
On top of that, half of us is their parents.
Right. This generation, I don't know what they got. My generation, we had we had tip drill. The generation before that, they had what's that daggone festival that they used to have down
Freak
south?
Nick.
They had Freaknik. The generation before that had Woodstock. It is what it is. Like, it's been happening for generations.
Facts. I honestly have a confession to make, because right before all this popped off, we was dealing with the coronavirus pandemic, and I say that like we're not still dealing with it.
Right.
But in my head, I'm like, bro, we got all this stuff going on in the world, and everybody's in the house making TikTok videos. I was pissed off about it. Dead serious. I'm like, man, we could be doing so much right now while everybody's on pause. If we as a people just came together right now, instead of making TikTok videos, we could do something under the radar. Yeah. And then all this popped off, and it was like, well, you ain't gotta be under the radar. No, we at your front door now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of those things that we can do. You know what I'm saying? Some of those things that actually do make the difference?
Can I?
We really want to have that talk?
Well, I was about to say.
I'm like, how serious we want to get? Because I mean, like,
we rapping right now, so we can get serious if we want.
We talking
about the black community, and now we about to get into. I feel like what we're finna get into is the black agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
If we finna talk about the black agenda, we gotta hold everybody accountable.
Right.
So
right.
Can't nobody take anything that we're saying offensive.
Right.
Because we're just saying what we feel from the heart, what needs to change.
Right.
Let's go.
So what level should we start on? I mean, everything should start on the local level.
Go ahead. Talk about it. Voting.
I can't control what happens in Missouri.
Exactly.
I can't control what happens in Florida.
Right.
But I can get to a brother that's been pulled over by the police on 21st and whatever. I can get to you.
Right.
Yeah. We can affect that change.
Right.
We gotta control our backyard first. Yeah. Let's get to it, LT.
Let's go. What are you proposing?
Let's start with the police department.
Okay.
What do we need to see from our police department?
I mean, one thing that's glaring to me is, and it's coming about now because you asked the question, what does defunding the police department look like?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, this is perfect. So let's go back about 4 years, and let's remember when Sam Brownback is our
I don't want to cut you. Hand me your cup.
Sam Brownback is our governor, okay?
Yeah.
Sam Brownback really only had 1 point, and that was that he was going to conduct the great American experiment, which is cutting taxes. Cutting taxes, right? Yeah. And that was basically it. Right?
That's it.
So now,
I'll follow.
Remember, at the same time, this is right around the Department of Justice had just finished their investigation in Ferguson. At the same time, our police department had already passed this law or, a budget where they was going to get their increase. Mm-hmm. So at the same time, cutting all those taxes for the state, yet the police already got their budget increase. Department of Justice in Ferguson found out that the police there were being used as tax collectors. Yeah. Okay?
I know what you're talking about now.
All right. It's all out there. Just go back and look at it. Being used as tax collectors.
Flint been real quiet lately. It's been real quiet around Flint.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So that's one thing right there.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about defunding the police, we're not talking about abolishing it. We're talking about cutting some of the funds.
We're not even talking about taking money out of police officers' pockets.
No.
Right.
It's not going to change the wage or the amount of money that a police officer makes.
It may change their pension, though.
There's no reason for our local police department to be militarized.
Right.
Okay.
You're policing citizens.
Right.
Yeah.
You're not in the Middle East.
Right.
Okay. We can start there. So, all right. Now let's look at mental health, for instance.
Okay.
Is that the responsibility of the police?
Mental health?
Yeah. If I have a mental health call, and I can't control my family member who's having an episode, should I be calling the police for that? Are the police trained for that?
No.
Okay.
They're
Absolutely
not trained
not.
at all.
So why not take some of those funds, have it specifically for a unit that all they handle is mental health calls?
Right. I'm with that.
Because we have an incident specifically, somebody that I went to church with sat next to in Sunday school by the name of Karis Randolph, who was killed on the 4th of July because he was having a PTSD episode, a former Marine. They family called for help.
The police don't know.
Okay.
Killed him.
So this is what defunding the police looks like. All right. We're trying to alleviate some stress off of you.
Right.
Then you can focus on the important
We're
stuff.
trying to educate you and hold you accountable.
Right.
That's it.
Focus on some important stuff like catching criminals. All right. So that's for starters. Let's decriminalize marijuana.
That needs to happen.
Yeah, because it's to be honest, I get the whole war on drugs, but the real war is y'all losing money off of legalizing marijuana because you can't meet your quota to pull people over, to put them in jail, to get your tickets and all that stuff. So
Black people specifically.
Yeah, well, in general, but yes, black people specifically. But at the end of the day, then you want to charge that person like they had first-degree manslaughter for some weed.
Mandatory minimums.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that.
Which all goes back to Sam Brownback cutting the taxes.
It's ridiculous.
You feel me?
Yeah.
All right. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Decriminalize marijuana. All right. Anybody else got some ideas? Cause
are you talking about the police?
yeah, we're talking about right here.
We're talking about the police department here in Wichita. So what I think needs to happen is that I think that too often we have police officers that don't care about this community. Mm-hmm. The community doesn't affect their home.
On the outside end. So like you coming in as recruits because you trying to fill up a status quo or whatever. You trying to make sure it's full. Yeah. But you bringing in anybody instead of just bringing in people who's from the city. I feel that.
All right. So segregation is a whole different conversation. You don't want to have that conversation with me. But I do believe that we need to have officers stationed in certain districts in the city. I think we need to establish fully what each district and what these districts are. We need to have police officers that not only are responsible for these districts, but live in these districts.
That's
the
key.
only way that you're going to care about what happens in this community is if it affects you.
All right.
So we have these police. It could be. I don't even know how many police officers we have in the Wichita Police Department. I don't know. I don't know exactly how many of them are outside, but we need to have some. We need to have some of those that are responsible enough to handle PTSD situations or that know how to down situations.
Right, de-escalate.
And see, we have programs, I believe, out here that you can get people into, but if a situation happens, you have no choice but to call the police.
Right.
But back to what I'm talking about. So in these neighborhoods, we need to get back to the point where police officers know Miss Mary that lives the third house down. We need these police officers to know little Antoine that lives with his auntie or whatever, and then if we see him out and about or whatever, you better stay on. You better make sure you ain't in trouble.
Right.
You ain't doing nothing you ain't got no business doing. We need to establish a relationship. I also feel that it needs to be a point that if you see a police officer that is in your community that wants to care about your community and wants to make sure that the community is safe, but also taken care of, I think that you would have more trust in the police officers.
That's the key.
Because there's police officers. I think each one of us know a police officer. Whether it's a black man or a white man, we know a police officer and we at least trust this person. So why can't we have that? I think that we can build that if we grow up with each other in our communities.
Right.
And it's funny that you say that because I got family that's in the police force, and a couple of them reached out to me already and are willing to get on here on a podcast and speak on their behalf about what they're willing to do because I think there are police officers who are in the force that are trying to do the same thing we doing right now, and ain't nobody listening to them either.
There are police officers that I would trust with my children.
Yeah.
But then there are also police officers that I think have an agenda that want to see my children dead.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about is what they call community policing.
Yes.
And that's different than patrolling. Okay, patrolling
definitely.
Patrolling is riding up and down the block, looking for infractions. Okay, looking to pull somebody over and whatnot, or stir the pot, so to speak.
We don't need that. We don't need that. Just like we don't need all these police officers and all the sheriffs out there when we have a black event at the cotillion. We don't need that.
Yeah.
Like the first thing I think that the police department has to establish is that there is a division. That there is a threat that they feel towards the black community. Because there's no reason why I can go to a T Grizzly concert at the Cotillion and the parking lot, everybody know what the Cotillion parking lot look like.
Right.
The police department is surrounding the daggone parking lot. But then I can go see Garth Brooks, or I can go see daggone what's his name? Blake Shelton. I can go downtown to see Blake Shelton, and I'll see a cop car on the corner and one at the corner patrolling, making sure people are parking where they supposed to, and that's it.
Because the rest of them is in Old Town trying to eliminate that threat.
Wow. Because we in Old Town.
Yeah, because we in Old Town. Right.
Do y'all really want to have this talk?
So when you talk about community policing, in order to get people,
am I wrong for that?
No, absolutely.
No, you're not.
In order to get people from the community on the force, they have to make some revisions to that test because there's certain things that automatically disqualify us.
We need to start programs as well. Mm-hmm. We need to start programs because it's us that put the bad image on a police officer. Because if I go to my son's school, my son is going to be in the 3rd grade next year. Mm-hmm. If I go to his school, there are black and white children that will say to me, well, if I ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? They'll say, I want to be a police officer. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's us that create that narrative that it's bad to be a police officer. Mm-hmm. We need more of us in that police department in order to make that change.
Right. So
we start programs so that these children, because it makes no sense that and I saw this post and I talked about this on the Point Proven podcast. I said it makes no sense that I can be a police officer quicker than I can be a barber. It makes no sense. Yeah, but why aren't we training the youth? So those youth that are interested in being police officers, they can maybe go up to the police station and see, you know what I'm saying? Because it will spark in a child that they want to pursue it. And then they can go into middle school, go in a program where they can be involved and be around police officers, feel comfortable, and also know what it takes to be an officer, what the mindset you have to go through, we train them up.
Yeah.
We offer trades, and we should put more money into trades and offering that for our youth. Mm-hmm. The police department is one of those jobs that, hey, you can make some okay money.
Right. Now, with that, so I like that idea of, starting a program young, maybe almost like a ROTC.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say. It's like ROTC, but instead of it being military based, it's actually, learning how to be police.
Okay. So with that being said, that will give us time to raise these seeds up through the ranks. At the same time, there's going to have to be some work done internally because we all know somebody that's been on the force and that has left the force because of racism within the force.
Yeah.
So that's something that's going to have to be addressed as well because by the time these young seeds come up, they're going to be going to that same program because it's funny that you say that. We know multiple people that have been both police officers, left that and then became a barber.
You know how many people that I've talked to that are former athletes that had the thought at least one time to be a police officer after their career was over? It's just like military, barber, all that, like, you know what I'm saying? It's a list of the same jobs. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But see, kind of backtracking off of what you were talking about, the difference with this generation is that I think they're more independent. Yeah. And that scares America. Mm-hmm. Because now you have a chance where we could have multi-black millionaires. Mm. Because now we have children that are playing Fortnite and are making $100,000.
Absolutely.
They're creating businesses and different opportunities in different ways.
Unintentionally.
100%.
Just having fun.
100%. I guarantee you, if you look at the number, I was born in 1992. If you look at the number of black entrepreneurs in 1992 compared to 2020, I bet you it would be out of this world. It's probably gone up by what, 200 plus 300%?
At least.
At least. That's what happened with this that's what's happening with this generation. So the further we keep going, I haven't seen a flying car yet.
It's coming.
They out there.
There's a young man.
They ain't hit the market yet.
There's a young man out there right now that is going to create that first flying car, and we haven't found him yet. But it's gonna happen. That's the beautiful thing about this youth is that they're creating so much.
What's crazy is that you say that Elon Musk just created his own rocket and successfully made it to the International Space Station last week. So, a billionaire.
The protests overshadowed that.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of stuff that's been going on the sneak tip, but what really matters is being promoted. But my issue is the propaganda agenda of the wrong things. So a lot of times we'll talk about programs like we'll have this podcast, which is beneficial for the community. Mm-hmm. But if KWCH, Cake, or the news were to look at it, they'll talk about the 15 people that was protesting on 21st and Rock causing a disturbance. But 15 of the 20 people were all white with black fists in their air, and then it was only 3 black people with fists in their air. They won't promote nothing like this. So propaganda and agenda is my issue.
But that's great. I like it. I love it because we need those protests.
Which is cool.
It all has to go hand in hand.
You're talking specifically about media and them.
Yeah, but the
narrative.
But the narrative would be
that's what you're talking.
The narrative would be Wichitans angry at and doing all this other stuff when all they're doing is sitting out there chilling. That's what I'm talking about.
What was the news channel that posted the 2 black
men
that
did.
they had arrested?
All of them posted it.
Y'all canceled like a mug.
All of them posted it.
Every last one of y'all.
Look, all you have to do listen. Go back.
Do you notice that most articles, when you look at an article, what does it have?
A date,
the date, and the writer's name.
Right, exactly.
You go to every article that was about those black men. It says the writer of it was the news.
Exactly, because I went and looked.
I did too.
I
did too.
But all you have to do,
I've been on everybody's head. So whoever was the one that wrote that, I was finna put your name out.
All
there.
you have to do,
ready.
Go back and look at my interview with AJ that came out Monday.
Which you did a great job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That.
I appreciate that.
Congratulations.
In that interview, I said, my problem with local news is that whatever the police department gives them, whatever the spokesperson says, that is what it is. And the newspaper or the news media prints it.
Yep.
As what they say and not do no fact check or anything like that.
No multiple sources.
Right. Right.
No investigative reporting.
Right.
No.
They publish it. And I also said you can go to Facebook and get more accurate information.
Yep.
And you know what's crazy?
Sadly,
half the time when they don't know what the hell's going on, they on Facebook too, looking at what the hell we read.
Wouldn't a public apology from the police department be the only way that these children have a chance to have a normal life?
2 days later, they proved me right.
Talk to me.
2 days later, they proved me right by arresting these 2 young men. So now their mugshots are out there for public record.
All over.
Forever.
And now,
because once it hits the internet,
it's there forever.
It's there forever.
I seen somebody comment and say that, this happened. My nephew was wrongly accused, and his charges still show up on his background checks years later, 4 years later. I'm like, they need to update those stories.
That's why we have GoFundMes for these children.
Update those stories.
That's the reason why.
Make sure that they're recanting, and you need public apology because you can ruin their life. Yeah. These are 19 and 20-year-old men
that ain't even started nothing, man. I ain't even started nothing
in college.
But
you can get kicked out of college.
Yes. What's the guy's name? Mark something. It starts his name Marc. I forgot his name. What he does. What he is for Sedgwick. He's the Sedgwick County District Attorney. I think. I believe his first name is Mark. They interviewed him when these black men were taken into custody, and after they were released. So he spoke on it, and he specifically said in the interview, they might not be charged. Once we do an investigation, we find out more information. Mark Bennett. They might not be charged. Mark Bennett. Kick rocks. These 2 black men did not start that post. These 2 black men had nothing to do with that post. So whatever type of energy that you have saying that they might not be charged needs to change to they will not be charged, because that open statement right there, if I'm a company and I'm trying to hire these 2 men, it's that one statement right there that could change everything.
Right. Because they were released without prejudice, which means the charge ain't dropped. They just don't have enough to hold them right now.
Yes. And they tried because you tell me that they were arrested, but you treat them like you brought them in for questioning. Yeah. That's how they treated the situation. Because how long are you allowed to hold someone when you're bringing them in for questioning? Isn't it
48 hours. I don't know.
It's something amount of time. That's how they treated the situation, which I don't understand. Yeah. I'm glad that these two young gentlemen are have been freed. I thank Brandon Johnson for what he did for these two black men. I applaud him for what he did on that part. But I know that it wasn't just him that got that done. Right. But I am truly glad that they have been free.
All right,
now let's go back. But wait, let's go back to what you were talking about in reference to the news, because this portrays us a certain way, because not only does the news get shown in Wichita, it gets shown across the state.
Right.
There's places in Kansas where there are no black people. There is no diversity.
Right.
Okay. And so every time they look on the news, they see mugshots of black people.
Right.
So what's going to be their perception of black people?
The criminals.
This is the damage that they're doing to us.
Yeah. And not speaking on it whatsoever.
Unfortunately, the damage is already done, because what's the percentage we make of the prison systems? So
enough.
Isn't that in the 90s?
At least.
What?
Isn't as far as black and brown people in the prisons?
Oh, between the two of us, yeah.
We make up 1/3 of the prison systems in the world. Black people in general. And you got white, black, Asian, Hispanic, Native American. You got, Arab, Indian.
Like so it goes on. It goes on.
You got so many, right? But we make up 1/3 of the prison
Us
systems.
alone.
So of course that makes sense for the mugshots. You look like a criminal now.
That's another thing that we need to discuss.
Yeah. So look, now let's go back now.
Police department. That's another thing.
We can tie this in together now, because I know people that came from the outskirts, outside of the city of Wichita, that have went to Wichita State, got their degree in criminal justice, joined the police academy, and now are active duty officers. And they come from a small town with no diversity. All they see.
They don't know how to talk to me.
All they see on the news is images of black people that they now relate to as criminals, and now they're on the force, policing.
And their perception is they're trying to make a change.
The crazy thing is, and I hate to put it like this, but we almost have to check in with each other.
For sure.
Because between the four of us, me and Mojo are the bigger guys between the four of us.
Right.
If there are two police officers that pull me and Mojo over, it's gonna get stupid. Yeah. It's gonna get stupid.
And that radio call is gonna be two aggressive black men pulled
because
over.
we look as a threat.
Yeah.
Because we might look like that we are more dominant than you. The police department has to acknowledge that there is an issue where they are looking at black people differently. You have to accept it. It is what it is. We know you do it.
We have the data. I mean,
what was that dropped? What was that dropped? It was an article that you even shared. LT.
Yeah, there's a nationally respected researcher here at Wichita State. Actually kind of know the guy. I didn't know I knew the guy, but yeah, he did the research, and it just shows that there's discrepancies in traffic violations. And
oh yeah, I heard about that.
You're 5 times more likely to get pulled over as a black man in Sedgwick County. Was that what it was?
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Do y'all call it Sedgwick County or just Wichita in general?
Say Wichita.
No,
because the truth, I call it Wichita, but the older I get, I separate Sedgwick County and Wichita. I call our neighborhood, the black folks, I call us Wichita because we ain't in no damn Sedgwick County.
We scattered out, but we ain't in no county.
Because in my mind, Sedgwick County, that's West Side. That's all the white folks.
That's weird because Sedgwick County to me is like everything like Northwest. So like Valley Center,
everything the light
touches. But you know what else is?
Whatever.
But you know what else is crazy?
Park City.
I was gonna say you got Goddard, Derby,
Augusta,
Augusta, all that. That's
so
all
hey, now look. You guys bring up an excellent point because just like you said, you consider Wichita a certain little box. Well, they feel like, okay, if they out here, they outside of their box.
And that's the other plus that we get from neighborhood patrol. Is that what you called it?
Community police.
Community police. I like that better. Community police is that, say I'm out on Mays Road and I get pulled over, because if I have 20 plus police officers that are responsible for this district, I have a relationship with multiple officers. So if I get pulled over out on Mays Road and a white police officer pulls me over and he just doesn't know how to talk to black people, that's one thing that white people have to acknowledge, that some of you just don't know how to talk to black people. You feel uncomfortable with it, and it is what it is. But you don't know how to talk to me. So I tell you, as a black man, my name is Tyrell Edwards. I live in this district that is responsible by this person of this and I feel more comfortable if you contact this police officer and notify him that you have pulled me over. So that makes that police officer accountable. He has to notify this other police officer that I pulled over one of your neighborhood people. Somebody from your neighborhood is in my community, and I'm pulling him over for a reason. Okay, well, what was the reason? I pulled him over for such. Oh man, hey, just go ahead and let him on. I'll give him the ticket when he gets here. I know where you live. I know who you are. So if you got pulled over for that situation and I tell the police officer I wrote his name down, I will give him a ticket later when he gets back to his community. Let him go. How many situations do we think have been taken care of? He smells like marijuana. Okay, well, take him down to the station and I'll meet you there. Tell him that I will be there when we get to the police station. I think I feel a lot more comfortable with a police officer that I've grown up with knowing for 17 years rather than a white man pulling me over that has no clue who I am. And that's why we get in situations where I'm down to the ground and you got your knee on my neck and I'm telling you I can't breathe.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this, and I don't want y'all to feel like I'm deflecting.
We talking.
Anything. Right. I made a comment on a post that ruffled some feathers. And I said, it's not all white people that are causing the issue. It's the younger white people who are starting to recognize the ignorance of the older generation. Yep. When I said that, I got immediately 4 inboxes like, yo, are you going to rephrase what you said? No.
I said what I said.
Right.
No.
If you don't like it, just like Mark Bennett, kick rocks.
Because the issue really is that we have white friends that we all went to school with, play sports with, love us like their own.
Yep.
They look and see what their parents and grandparents are saying. A lot of them don't agree with what their parents and grandparents are saying, but it's forced upon them to act that way until they got older. Now, there are some people in that older generation who do not hate us either.
Yep.
But unfortunately, they get categorized by it. Part of that other change is that we need to find out who those other white people are who's willing to stand up with us so they can also help us not be the voice, but help us be the voice.
That's why people speaking now means so much.
Right. And so when we say...
That's why it means so much.
When we go back and say use our platform, a lot of white people do watch us.
Yes.
There's a lot of white people that love us.
Yes.
But they feel, like you said, they don't know how to approach us and talk to us. And so we have to.
Have y'all had conversations with white people about what they should do?
A ton.
Man.
Has that happened?
Absolutely.
I have white peers that have contacted me inbox, and I'm not going to say names because I respect the hell out of y'all, but I love you for the fact that you contacted me.
For sure.
I've had multiple white people contact me, and they ask me, what should I do? I had a white peer of mine that he said he lives in a predominantly white city in Kansas based off of his job, and he told me, he's like, I want to fuck some people up. I want to make them uncomfortable. I said, what you gonna do, bro? He said, I'm putting Black Lives Matter on my shirt and I'm walking through the city today with my mixed daughter.
Hey, now that's a whole nother conversation. If we want to get into it,
I want to have a conversation because I think that I don't know the next time we're going to record, so I want Troy's opinion on this. Because out of the 4 of us, I know that Troy is somewhat involved in church.
Yes.
Churches need to be held accountable, bro. The reason why I say that is because there are black churches in the community that have been taking dollars for years. for years. They're living. They're taking money off of tithes and offering. And I understand that if you believe in God and that you believe that He's blessing you and continue to bless you, you're going to give back to the church. I understand the story of that, but I also believe that these churches need to be held accountable for the community that they're in.
Tell me, how do you think they should be held accountable?
So, I think that there needs to be more that you can offer me other than inviting me to service on Wednesday and Sunday. I think that what possibly needs to happen is that churches need to be, also communities need to be more involved in the building of the community.
Facts.
We need to be held accountable for Black communities, and we also need to be held accountable just for our neighborhoods in general. So I'm speaking on the Black churches that are in their communities or whatever. We need to be involved in rebuilding certain homes. We need to be involved in making sure that these communities are clean, but also the people that are in their neighborhoods, they need to be held accountable for doing that as well. Right. But I go back to this one small thing because people don't understand just how much of a difference one small thing makes. So I went to a college, Kansas Wesleyan University in Salina, Kansas. It is a Christian college, but going to that college, I lived on the campus. I lived in a dorm. Across the street from the dorm, there was a church that every Sunday they would offer a dinner from 5 to 8 p.m. I'm sweating like crazy because of this crown talking to me, but whatever. But from 5 to like 8 o'clock, they would offer dinners for $1. $1 or $1.25. Right. So just an example, I would get 2 sloppy joes, a bag of chips, and a juice or a soda for $1.25. Wow. Do you know how much of a difference that makes as a college student?
It's heavy.
Do you know how much of a difference as a Black community that might make? If these Black churches got more, and I hate to say Black churches because churches in general, they live off of the dollar of their people
in the community.
That's the only way. That's the only way that the church makes money. It makes money on other parts, as far as what they file for, but then also the bills are paid from the people, from the tithes and the offering.
I hear you. So,
if each church on Sunday or whatever, Sunday and Wednesday or whatever, they all had dinners available. Because if there's tithes and offering available, that money needs to go towards that community. We need to have people out here. We need to have the dumpster trucks at least once a month out there for the community cleanup. Yeah. It makes no sense why the community cleanup happens every quarter.
Every spring.
Every spring. We need to have that at least once a month. Right. Because do you know how many Black people take pride in, oh, shoot, I got to get this out to the front because they're going to be ready on Sunday. They're going to be moving fast. Yeah. I got to get my stuff out here. We're cleaning up our community. Facts. We're cleaning up, but we're also taking care of our community because I remember as a kid going out there and knocking on the door and inviting people to service on Sunday. What more can I offer you? Well, you know what? I can offer you a meal for $1. You know how many people will scrap together $1 for their 3 children and tell them when they feel comfortable enough, hey, run down to the end of the block down to the church and go ahead and go get y'all something to eat. Tell sister such and such that I sent you. See, that's the thing also about this community. We have to get better at living as a community. We got to know each other.
I agree.
In order to live, we got to know each other.
And it's one of those things, and not just kind of to piggyback, but it's even when you was old school, like when you was kids and neighbors, and you were the younger family, and both your next door neighbors was the older ones. Yep. When you the oldest one and it's your turn to cut the grass, guess whose grass you got to cut? You got to cut your grass. Miss So-and-so's grass.
Right next door.
The
older lady that we, and also every other day we go ahead and get the mail out of her mailbox and we take it to her because we know she struggles getting down the stairs.
There you go.
Stuff like that. Just the little things like you're saying.
Little stuff like that. I grew up on the north side. I grew up off of 13th and Oliver. I grew up with 2 individuals that I still call my brothers to this day, and I don't talk to them every day. That's Maurice Corner and Steven Strand. I was with them every day of my life as a kid, to the point that when I was a kid, I would be at my brother Steven's house, and once it got to a certain time, his mama would ask me, "Are you staying for dinner?"
Right.
We gotta build that.
Yeah.
I've seen brothers that I know. That their children are missing in the midst of a pandemic through a coronavirus. Right. Do you know that the numbers went up on children going missing? It went up.
That's crazy.
I don't know the exact percentage, but I read about it. It went up.
That's crazy.
So that means that in the midst of the coronavirus, our kids are going missing, bro.
Right.
Still.
Community policing,
and it's sick.
Are you gonna give Troy an opportunity?
You know what? I was
respond?
getting ready to respond just now too. So let's look at the history of how our black churches, our churches in our community have helped our community. Have been a help.
Yes.
So back in the day, we've had school program, after school programs. We've had, feed the homeless, get out there and do this stuff, community cleanups and stuff like that.
Yes.
Look in our churches now, and who's in our churches right now?
You remember back in the day when we would be in church, like there would be like once a year they would show photos, or it would be like an anniversary or something. They would show photos of all the events that happened over the years at the church and stuff like that. I guarantee you, if we show some of them photos from the church events lately, they've been bare.
They've been bare.
There's
been a lot. There's a lot of older folks in our church, right?
Yes.
I feel like the church is behind on let me say this. 'Cause I can say behind, but I want to say the church is not up to date on how they can help.
No.
In certain ways. Now it's nothing's really changed. It's not that they can't get out here and do it, but we got 65 and 70-year-old members in our church, majorly in our churches, in our community.
Come on, Troy.
I'm speaking about Tabernacle. I'm talking about St. Mark.
That's a fact.
I'm talking about Delrose. All these people are older. The same people who were doing all this stuff when we were younger are still doing it, still in that seat. So it's tough for me to be like, we have to lean on our churches to do that when our church doesn't have the influence that it used to.
I feel you. I agree with you, and that comes into the questioning of, if you gonna point to me and tell me that I'm gonna pray to God about what's going on right now, I'm gonna need you right now to stop and shut the fuck up. Because you telling me that you're gonna pray about it is not gonna bring back George Floyd. You praying about it is not gonna change the way that I feel about Breonna dying. It's not. But what prayer is, what prayer can do, prayer can lead to someone that is of my age, that does believe in God, that does believe in the same things that y'all believe, to be motivated to come out here and change in the community.
Hopefully.
We got to establish these relationships.
Yeah.
And we're going to save this for another conversation, but I really do have a segregation conversation that I feel that the black community needs to address.
And all right, because
we
He's about
create
to have it
these
right
neighborhoods.
but here's my thing:
He's about to do it.
Is the segregation really black versus white, or is it really the black versus black mentality?
The segregation is this. The segregation is...
Why would you do that? He said he's going to save that for another conference.
I'm just asking.
The segregation is gathering my black people together into a community that they will care, that they're going to care about. Also, that we're going to have black officers in these neighborhoods that are going to be along with these people. We're going to invest in our community. We're going to live amongst each other, but also the first thing, and we talked about this, the first thing we need to do is we need to start adding more black banks into these communities.
All right, now let's backtrack. Let's backtrack, because listen, we was talking about churches, and I want to comment on that.
Yes.
I'm gonna just come from my opinion.
That's all you can do.
Our churches have a lot of resources collectively, so where they may be dwindling in numbers individually, I think if the effort was put forward to have a collective effort, we could get some things accomplished, because one church may offer one thing, another church may offer another thing.
And that's completely okay. That's completely okay.
And I'm saying if we all get them on the same page and say, okay, these 3 churches have basketball gyms.
They are on the same page, though. You know why? I just learned this as an adult. Churches, what's up with y'all with these districts that y'all have?
Hold on, man.
that there's different churches in different districts and stuff like this. Am I tripping? Am I bugging, or is that real?
Let him finish what he got to say first.
Go ahead.
So, like, just like Brandon Johnson was able to get these after school things going where they can play basketball after school at like the YMCA, at the mess set or whatever.
Which should have never changed in the first place, but yeah.
Right, exactly. Maybe these churches can say, okay, they already have a place to go on these days.
Right.
On these days that they don't have somewhere to go.
Yes.
Let's open our doors for the children to come and utilize our facilities.
Yep.
Right.
And that's what I mean by that.
And we can build jobs this way as well.
We have certain churches that have that can offer medical services.
Yep. Yes.
We have certain churches that offer meal services.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And as long as we're not doing things on the same day, and we can stagger it to where we can, sustain the community throughout the week. Mm-hmm. That would be my suggestion. And there's other examples.
You're 100% right.
But see, Rello, I knew where Rello was coming from as far as like, yo, where are y'all faces at? Why, you know what I'm saying? This was a great answer, and for me, I don't want to end it on just like, yo, the church doesn't showcase that influence. So why are we asking for them that, for their help at this moment? The church does have an influence to a certain extent. However, the people who are in church and are aware of everything that's going on have to stand up and say something. We grew up in the church, in a place where we had so many elders. Yep. We didn't want to be out of line.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Now we're all, either 30 or getting close to 30.
Yep.
And it's okay if you stand up and be like, yo, something's not right. This is going on in our community. This church is in this community that's being affected by this. Mm-hmm. We have to make a move. What can we do? If we have a lot of nurses, we have a lot of EMTs, medical people, doctor, this is what we can do. This is how we can affect change because we have so many of you guys. If we have, like you said, kitchen ministry or food ministry or something like that, this is what we can do.
This is what we offer.
Now,
yes,
we have to set us up. We have to get into the churches and set aside. They have to set aside funds for this. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these churches aren't making tons of money anymore.
You're right.
Because it's like less people are giving. Mm-hmm. In some churches, not every church though. Not every church is like this, but a lot of them in our community, especially the smaller ones, they're affected by their attendance. Because they don't have a lot of people in there. So we have to be able to hold them accountable, like you said.
Don't they have districts though?
Districts,
or something along that line.
Okay, so this is which is kind of what you're talking about. It's kind of like the government thing, what you talking about. So like how there's a councilman or something like that for each district.
This church is represented the southeast, the southwest, something. This church represents this.
Certain denominations are very organized.
Yes.
That's all I'm gonna say about that.
But then there are churches that choose not to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
Right. Mm-hmm. In order for us to come on the same goal and work on one accord, we have to come together. We need to plan and we need to operate on one accord. We can't have all these. Well, if there are 3 black churches in one community, and the reason why they haven't come together is because this pastor feels this way about this pastor, or this feels this way about this church, do you realize that based off of personal opinion, you could be changing a whole neighborhood? Because don't get me wrong, I'm not here to blast anyone in the church. I'm not here to blast or criticize anyone of the church. That's not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to do is just like what I'm doing is I'm holding myself accountable, and anybody that has anything involved with the black community, I'm holding you accountable.
Facts.
There are a lot of businesses out here, or whatever you want to say, media outlets or whatever, that are out here that are feeding off of the black community or the black dollar.
Yeah. That
they're not being held accountable for anything. Don't tell me that you're the beat of the street if you're not out here in the streets.
Hey. Go to
that's here another talk for another day.
Yeah. Because that's kind of where I was getting ready to go with it, to where, fortunately, and I'll speak on Tabernacle. When Pastor Montgomery said church without walls, it's kind of the vision that he had. Got tired of people saying, oh, we're this denomination, we got to follow this and follow that. Yeah. He's only one person, but he's always tried to strive to bring the community together by opening up the church for events about talks, bringing in black.
You got to put the pride aside.
Yeah, you got to.
Because, see, the thing is that my grandfather was the mentor to Pastor Montgomery.
Right.
So I've known about Lincoln Montgomery my whole life. I know who you are.
Yeah.
I got all the respect in the world for you. But I also know that there's people out here that don't like you.
Yeah.
Whether they like you or not. It is what it is. But I'm going to need Lincoln Montgomery. I'm going to need the leader of this district, of this church. I'm going to need the leader of this church to come together and make the right decision for the community.
But Rello, that's where we come in, bro. Because we have tried to say that without overstepping our boundaries, but now it's our time to make that change.
It's too late now.
It's too late.
Now this generation has a voice.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. We have to utilize that voice and make them realize, like, hey, if y'all not going to do it, we willing to step up. If you want us to come together, use the facilities, have us do these meetings.
See, now we going really, really deep, because there's hierarchies within those churches.
But we talking about our own black agenda of how we think we can make things better. That's a start.
Yes.
So you have to. You can't
go in and just step on them.
Wait a minute. Let me explain this, because just like there is a president who does not hold all power, there are checks and balances where a pastor does not hold all power. So I just put it out there.
Stop. Because Donald Trump is the first president that I have had to question how much power a president has.
Right. That's because he has full support of House and Senate.
See, this is the thing that we're talking about. I think that pastors realize how much power they have, but then I think they don't realize how much power that they really have.
I think it's not power; it's influence.
Trump has
influence like a mug.
Because
not power.
Because that's a cult. What Donald Trump has is a cult.
Yeah, he has a cult following.
Because I saw someone post. I saw them say that Donald Trump has done everything possible to ruffle the feathers of every community.
Yeah,
the black community, and recently today the LGBTQ community.
Oh, and I'm gonna tell you right now, he on a roll now.
He's on a roll. But do you know? Like, okay, I saw someone post. They said Donald Trump could go walk out of the White House right now and shoot somebody in the head and kill him dead in cold blood, and that his cult is gonna say there's a reason why he did it.
They were quoting him directly. That's how popular he is.
What was the killer that was out there? Was it Charles Manson? Charles Manson had a cult following. Now imagine how crazy Charles Manson could have been if he had the internet. That's the advantage that Donald Trump has. We have a president that is socially active. Donald Trump is active on social networks. There is not somebody tweeting for Donald Trump. Donald Trump has his phone. And he is tweeting exactly how he feels himself. That's the difference. Imagine if Charles Manson had the same connections that Donald Trump had the same access to the internet that Donald Trump had. Because there's still people to this day in 2020 that think Charles Manson was 100% right and are following him.
That's crazy.
That's a bizarre thing to think about.
Yeah, it is. That's why I said.
That's a very.
I mean, you didn't even.
We're battling a cult.
You didn't even have to say Charles Manson. You could just say Hitler, because that's the point where we're at.
That's the point that we're at. But I wanted to keep it. I wanted to keep it America. I wanted to give them an example from their own soil.
Yeah.
So
let's get back to the black agenda.
So yeah. Okay, so if we could move forward from policing, one of the things that we can do, I would like to talk about, is financial literacy. We lack that so bad.
That's where
bad.
You was getting with black banks in the community.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, we lack financial literacy so bad that when we get our money, what do we buy?
Because
Jordans.
Out of 4 men here right now, one of them is getting unemployment.
Yeah.
Right? Because the unemployment right now has been higher than you can imagine. So we're going to use the percentage that 1 out of 4 people is on unemployment. What are we spending this money on? I can tell you what I'm spending my money on. I'm trying to buy a house. Me and my wife are trying to buy a house.
That's dope.
Right.
That's dope.
No better time than right now.
In the black community. I've been to visits to 3 houses, and you know where those houses were?
Where?
The north side. I'm investing back in my community.
Now, when you say, because you know people here be wanting, are you talking about the hood? Are you talking about Beacon Hill? Are you talking about East Side? Or are we talking about like 13th and Grove?
All right, so let's get back to the agenda as far as the black banks. LT, me, Troy, and Bailey, we are not into politics like you are.
Yeah.
LT, how much of a difference would the black community have if we had 3 black banks in Wichita?
I don't know if we have enough populations to sustain 3. We may get 1 and have 3 branches from the same one. But let's remember that we're 13% of the population on a good day. Okay, I like to go low and say 10% because I've been running these numbers. Like while I was getting mad about TikTok, I've been having these conversations with Troy, and everything ain't for the public, but Wichita is about 400,000 people.
Yep.
Low ball.
We're just about 400,000.
Low ball. We'll say we're 10% of that population. That's 40,000 people. On an old podcast we did with Brandon Johnson, right when he initially announced that he was running for mayor, it was the gentrification episode. Yes. At the very end, he talks about how Liberty Bank from Kansas City would bring a branch here if we had $20 million in accounts. I did the math. That's among 40,000 people. That's $500 in accounts on average. We just got stimulus checks. If we were organized, we could have brought that bank here. Now,
LT, I hate to cut you off, but I want to ask you just a quick question.
Yeah.
If the United States of America wanted to do right, but from all their wrongs that they've done to black people and the black community, would it not be wrong for them to fund these black banks? And I'm gonna move the mic right here because I want to hear your answer.
Well, they did something like that before. Then they kept all the money. With I believe it was Frederick Douglass. So that's why everything we gotta do is on our own.
Yep.
You can't.
Imagine the difference that a black bank can make.
So to answer your original question, let's stay right in the current times because they sent out these small business loans.
Yeah. Which
small businesses did not receive. And if you are a black business owner, you're even less likely to receive that
100%.
Small business loan.
100%.
Okay. We heard who got the Lakers, the Knicks.
Small business.
You're telling me that these NBA players that are not playing right now, they deserve to make their contracts. But
who was it? Brett Favre? I mean, there's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
But anyway,
so
a black bank.
I feel like all 4 was about to go off at the same time, but we had to check each other.
A black bank would make it more likely for a small business in the black community to receive a business loan, which then in turns they can employ people from the community. Okay, these are ancillary effects.
All people that we can trust.
So the government needs to go ahead and cut the check, and towards the black community, go ahead and cut the check towards that. Open up black banks within the community, so then we can offer to, because I hate to say this, but if you as a black man, Troy,
Yeah.
because you live in a nice neighborhood, but you work in the hood. So I'm gonna ask you this question. If you and your wife were given the opportunity from a black bank, you knew that you were going to get approved of this loan and that this house that is in this black neighborhood will be yours. You will get approved of this loan. You will make the mortgage payments and everything like that, insurance and all. Yeah. And this house that is in this black community will be able to get passed on from your generation to your children to your grandchildren. Would you take that chance? Just the same way that I'm offering you that opportunity, I'm offering Mojo this opportunity. Right. I'm offering LT this opportunity. I'm also taking these black construction workers. I'm offering them $1 million construction deals, and we're starting to build apartments and other homes in these black communities. Because people need to quit with the BS. Because my entire life, I've been told that Grove is the hood. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong, but I don't definitely. Grove is not the hood.
Grove ain't the hood because there's different hoods. We can talk about Plainview. Right. We can talk about whatever hood you want. But I've been told that my entire life that you don't want to live on Grove.
I'm gonna take the deal on that house. I'm not passing it on to my kids. I'm renovating. I'm refurbishing. I'm restructuring. I'm redoing that entire house
to a black family.
Yes, absolutely.
And so now this black community. So let's say off of Grove between 17th and 21st Street.
Yeah.
So now this black community, every home is owned by a black family.
Yes.
Black families own these houses.
Yes.
So now there's money that's running into these communities. These communities now, these churches that are in these communities are also working in the community. These communities are taking care of their community. Because I feel that if us as a black community are going to better ourselves, we have to hold each other accountable. So there's going to have to be certain days out of the week or certain days out of the month that I'm off of work and I'm going to go put in work into my community. I'm going to help such and such clean his backyard. I'm going to help such and such paint his house because I want my community to be as expensive as possible.
Well, let's pause real quick and
let's go.
Let's elaborate on the importance of what you're talking about, because a lot of people are like, well, what I need to own a home for? They probably looking and asking you that question.
You bugging.
Everybody's not educated, but understanding
financial literacy.
Understand that in America traditionally, wealth has been built on borrowing, so you have to take out a loan. You have to have something to borrow against. So just like we talked about the importance of a black bank, and getting loans. Okay, you can get a loan for a home.
Yes.
You're more likely to get a loan from a home from a black bank if you're black.
Yes.
Now, once you are a homeowner, you can borrow against your home to start a business.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now we're talking about creating wealth. Just to reiterate the importance of a black bank.
Before we have started these protests, we were going through a pandemic.
Yeah.
And at the very beginning of this pandemic, there were two major companies in Wichita that did layoffs: Boeing and Spirit, and Textron. They did major layoffs and furloughs. So it hurt my heart that all these people got laid off. We have to think about all these black people that got laid off. They don't have a second resource. Us as a black community, we should be able, because that job that's there, that's a beautiful job. Because what's crazy is that at one point, Boeing and working at Textron or Beechcraft or whatever, that was a goal.
Yeah.
That was an option.
That was a career.
And that was a career at some point. Because we know multiple brothers that we went to school with that worked out there that got let go.
Parents.
They got let go. So now they have to start over. It hurts my heart that us as a black community, we don't have jobs available for those people.
Right. And so now that needs to change. Needs to be a shift in the mentality, because now what you're saying is everybody needs to have 2 jobs. You need to have 1 job and a hustle. The reason you need to have a job is because they're going to provide you those benefits.
Yes.
And then you always need a hustle because that job ain't guaranteed. It's a false sense of security. But if you got a hustle, you can get it on your own.
Always.
We got to invest in our neighborhood.
Yeah. So look at this. Look at this. What we've always looked at. We've always compared black success.
Yeah.
A community of black success. We always compare it to Black Wall Street.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? What if we had Black Wall Street right now? Right? What if Wichita became a Black Wall Street? Now we're looking at tons of businesses. I mean, how many? Was I reading this to you the other day? Probably. I was reading it to you. It was like how many groceries? 60 grocery stores? Was it 30? It was 30 grocery stores, something like that. 30 grocery stores, black owned, right? A bus line, a bus system in our neighborhood that we own. Banks. We got our churches.
Yeah.
We have 100 restaurants. You know what I'm saying? We have our own schools.
And we got people who
high schools.
We got people who are hustling, selling food.
Yeah.
That can have a food truck and restaurant themselves.
Yeah. But see, things are about to change.
Yeah.
And the reason why, go ahead.
No. Well, my point is being able to show that we can still do this, being able to show that we're capable of doing this and having it function, having the money, show it. Well, like you said, there's some stuff that, because I was about to, but showing them how the money can flow through the bank and how that is poured back into your community, how that pours back into your business, how this continues to cycle. Being able to have this in our community and have it function with no help from the outside will have the world scared. Because when we thrive, we thrive and you can't touch us. The only way you could try to get it.
History will repeat
the
itself.
only way you can try to take us down is to try to set everything on fire.
History will repeat itself. We're going on the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa massacre that happened, where the government decided to destroy a whole neighborhood where we had black banks, we had black aerospace systems, we had anything that you can think of. And see, that's the thing, is that I hate to say it, but they don't want to admit and they don't want to show us the numbers that when we were segregated and we were in our own black communities,
how much money
we were thriving.
But it was by default. It was by default because we had no choice but
we had just got started. Because LT, we had just talked about how our grandparents were segregated. Our grandparents had to deal with slavery and separation like no other. That was literally 40 years ago. That big of a difference, 40 to 50 years ago.
52.
So it's still fresh. It's still fresh. So when they gave us our own communities, when they gave us our own money, they decided to destroy it because it got too good. It got too good to be true. But I'm sick and tired of my child, of Mojo's son, of us going to these schools and they're teaching the history of Christopher Columbus. I'm sick of it. We need to have our own Black history book. We need to have our own history that we are teaching our children. Now, when I say that segregation, I don't mean that it's black versus whites versus Mexicans versus. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that America, that the Central County gives us this neighborhood. This neighborhood is predominantly black. We are going to own this neighborhood. Put these black banks into these neighborhoods and give these black people a chance to own the homes that they've been living in for 40 plus years. Give them that opportunity. Give Troy a chance, him and his wife, to go into a black neighborhood to get a loan and own a home that within 20 years they could have that home and another black family, because you said yourself that you would rent that home out. Give that home to a black family and that they could live there
at an affordable rate.
We have multiple black construction companies. Why isn't that we don't come together, the this government give these millions of dollars, give $1 million construction deal to these multiple companies, and allow them to create apartments and homes in the black community.
There you go. So now we're talking about the black agenda again. So now
that's all I'm here for. That's all I can talk about.
This is what I want everybody to look at. Atlanta. Atlanta has been the model. And I don't know.
T.I. got on TV and called it Wakanda. And y'all laughed him out the room.
I don't understand why everybody's dying to move to Dallas and Atlanta, but understand why they are what they are. So when you get a mayor in office and you say, look, okay, if we make up 10 to 13% of the population in Wichita, well then why not have 10 to 13% of government contracts go to a black-owned company? So like you said, if they're...
How much money is that, LT?
I don't know.
To them, that's chump change. Am I tripping?
Yeah.
Am I tripping?
Absolutely.
It's chump change.
Right. Instead of the Cornejos, the Donlingers, and the...
Yep.
What's the other one that named after the South Wine? Farhas.
Yeah.
Instead of them getting all of the contracts, give it, something that a black-owned construction company, there's something they can do. If you can give 10% of the trash contracts to the McCrays, you see what I'm saying?